Welcome to Pre-Intermediate Global. Today we're going to be talking about the grammar for Unit 1. Okay, something that I would like to say before we start is that eventually the speed of my voice will increase a little bit because, we're we're in a more advanced level. So be patient and you can watch the video more than once if you ever need more to understand a little more. Let's continue. All right. And today's lesson is about the following. Okay, so this time around we're dealing with the review for 3 items. Very important ones, by the way. The first one is the simple present. Yes, the simple present in all its forms, affirmative, negative, and questions, using the verb to be and using action verbs. I will refresh your minds a little bit on this. And the second one is frequency adverbs. Yes, these words that express how frequently we do something, how frequently we do an action. All right, and the last one, last but not least, is present continuous for actions that are happening at the moment of speaking. All right, now let's begin with the most simple ones. The most simple one, which is frequency adverbs. Now I wrote 6 here. There are more, but just to mention a few. Okay, so we have. Let's just check the pronunciation. I will say it, and I hope that you can at least repeat it once. I know that you probably know how to pronounce these, but it never hurts to practice a little bit extra. So please repeat: always, always, never, never, sometimes, sometimes, usually, usually, almost never, almost never, almost always, almost always. Normally when we practice frequency adverbs, we know that always means all the time. Maybe it's right 100%. Never is not happening at all. Sometimes we can call it maybe 60% of the time. Usually I would say 80% of the time. Almost never 90, because no, actually it's not, it's the other way around. So let's say 10%, and almost always 90%. Okay, we have some examples. There's another important thing to mention with frequency adverbs. There's a difference between using an action verb. Let me label it for you so it looks better. Okay, so when you use an action verb and when you use the verb to be, the position of the frequency adverb changes. If we're using an action verb, in this case, by, we need to place the frequency adverb before our action verb. However, if we use the verb to be, like such as it is in this case, verb to be, the frequency adverb will go after the verb to be. So, and then the first result we have: I always buy my groceries at Walmart. I wrote WH because just ran out of space, nothing big. And in the second one, I am always late to work. And in that example, the verb to be goes before the frequency adverb. Frequency adverb. Frequency adverb. Know this and remember this because it's always like this. So make sure you don't make that mistake. Alright. Now we have the simple present. Well, maybe it changed a little abruptly there, but anyways, we have the affirmative and the negative. The formula is always the same. Uh, it's very recommended. I always recommend my students to memorize this formula because it makes speaking English really easily. Okay, really easy actually. Okay, so the formula in affirmative is subject, verb in present, and the complement. In the negative, we have exactly the same, but in the middle, between the subject and the verb, we have an auxiliary. What auxiliary? Well, that auxiliary will be does. Sorry, doesn't. Let me write it for you. Doesn't for he, she, it, and don't for we, you, they, and I. If we're using the verb to be, we need am. I don't have a space there, but I'm gonna erase it and write it down. Yes. If we have the verb to be, we need just are, or am, or is. Don't forget that I is for am, we, you, and they, we use are, and is for he, she, and it. And if we have the verb to be, we don't need a verb in simple form because the verb to be, it's our auxiliary and our verb at the same time. I will give you more examples. Alright, so once again, affirmative, we have a subject, verb in present, and complement. Negative, subject, auxiliary, does or doesn't or don't or aren't or I'm not or isn't. If it's don't or doesn't, we use the verb in simple form. If it's the verb to be, we only jump to the complement. Okay, we have some examples here. Example number 1, we are very happy to see you. Example number 2, she doesn't like waiting. Example number 3, I normally do my chores before 6. Example number 4, I am not a doctor anymore. Let's see if the formula we talked about actually applies. Okay, so we have subject. Yes, we do. We, she, I, and I. Do we have a verb or an auxiliary? Yes, we do. In the first one, it's affirmative, so we have the verb to be. Yes. In the second one, it is negative. We have the verb after the auxiliary. And the third, we actually have a frequency adverb normally, and we have our verb right there. And in the third one, yeah, it's negative, but we have our verb in negative there. Also, remember that the verb to be is both an auxiliary and a verb at the same time. So I'm going to label it this way. Do we have an auxiliaries here? Yeah, in the second one we have doesn't, which is negative. Doesn't for she. And, well, I just mentioned the fourth one, I am not a doctor. Let's see, do we have a complement? Yes, we do. Very happy to see you. That's our complement. Waiting. That's our complement. Do my chores before 6. Well, my chores before 6. That's a complement. And a doctor anymore is another complement. And well, here let's label our frequency adverb in a different way. Frequency adverb. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Now, questions. When making questions in the simple present, don't forget there are two types of questions. There are yes-no questions and information questions. The yes-no questions are simply called that way because the answer to them is either yes or no. And in information questions, our answer will always be specific information. Just as simple and obvious as that. The formula for yes-no questions is almost always the same in the English language, which is our auxiliary, the subject, the verb in simple form, and the complement. For example, For example, do you have a car? Yes. Do you speak English? Well, we're going to give you some examples anyway. If it's an information question, we have to introduce a question word. What question words are those? What, where, when, why, how, etc. And the formula goes like this. That would be question word, auxiliary, subject, verb in simple form, complement. For example, what language do you speak? This time around, the complement, we don't have one. Well, language would be the complement. Maybe let's say, where do you normally eat your breakfast? Yes. Let me give you some examples in here. We have a couple actually. The first example: do you have many CDs? Do you have many CDs? So we can answer can be yes, I do. Yes, I do. Or the complete answer would be yes, I have many CDs. Right, now let's see if the formula applies. Well, we have a subject, yes. We have an auxiliary, we do, yes. Do we have a verb in simple form? You also do. Verb. Do we have a complement? Yes, many CDs, right. And the answer, well, we have yes, I do. The second one we have, how many CDs do you have? Now this time we have to be specific about it. And we can say I have 100 CDs. Now here let's look at the formula. How many? Yes, question word. Do we have a complement? Well, in this case we're talking about CDs, so yes, we have a complement there. We have auxiliary, yes, we do. Auxiliary. Do we have a subject? We also do, I guess. You. And do we have a verb? We also have a verb here. Verb in simple form. No, you see that the formula was followed, and it's the same with almost all questions you ask in English. Now, the next one. When do you take a shower? When do you take a shower? Does she normally take a shower in the morning? Does she normally take a shower in the morning? Why are you sad? Why are you sad? Do they have a degree? Do they have a degree? I have more examples here, and I'll show you right now that, well, we have a question word. I will show you right now that the formula is always followed. Auxiliary, do, does, are, and do. Now we have a subject, yes, we have you, she, you, and they. Do we have a verb? We also do. Take, verb is here because it's a verb to be. Have, and do we have a verb in complement? A shower in the morning, sad, and degree. You see, the formula is always followed. Present continuous. This is the next, the final item we need to review. For example, well, the formula is quite simple, very similar to simple present, but some important things to mention here. The formula in affirmative will be subject, auxiliary, verb plus ing, and complement. This is the most important thing about the present continuous. We always have to use an ing verb. If it's a negative, we simply have subject, auxiliary, negative, verb in ing form, and complement. If it's a question, we make an inversion of these two. Yes. We exchange them, and we have the result, which is auxiliary, subject, verb plus ing, complement. If it's a question, we only introduce a question word in the beginning, and we have a question word, auxiliary, subject, verb plus ing, complement. All right, let's look at the examples here. We have the only example, send a text, right? Let's see. We have subject, yes, we do. She, and she. Okay, and do we have an auxiliary? We do. The auxiliary will always be the verb to be, so we have is, isn't, is. If it were we, you, or they, it would be are. If we had am, we would be. Sorry, if we had it would be am. Now we have a verb plus ing. We do sending, 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 doing. Now we have a complement. We also do, which always is in almost all the cases the same: a text and on the phone. Don't forget that if it's an information question, we need a question word in the beginning. Yes, so the result is affirmative. She is sending a text. Negative. She isn't sending a text. Question, yes, no. Is she sending a text? Information question. What is she doing on the phone? I might changed this one, made it different, just for it to make sense. Okay, one tip before we finish. The formula for questions is almost always the same for most tenses. Yes, you will, whenever you use will, whenever you use do, whenever you use did, whenever you use should and can, well, mostly the formula is followed the same way. Let me give you an example. Should I study more? Yes. Let's see, we have an auxiliary, we have a subject, we have a verb in simple form, and we have a complement. Yes. Notice this is a very different tense, very different tense or intention in the English language, and the formula is the same: auxiliary, subject, verb, complement, always the same. Don't forget, so try to memorize this one because it's very useful. And well, thank you very much for watching, and welcome to pre-intermediate level again. My name is Emmanuel Cruz. Well, I always write M just to make it easier for people. And I'm going to be around if you ever need me or get in touch with me. You can always ask the director of English Solutions for Business and Life. Thank you very much. See you in our next video.